have this little yoga. I have a lot of different yoga bolsters. This is one of my favorite ones for this reason, because it's not very big. And you can also take any blanket that you've got and you could roll the blanket up. It's a little skinnier, but it'll give you kind of a similar effect in that you'll get this kind of lift up under your spine that feels really nice. And I like to start the bolster at about where the bottom of my ribs goes. You can have it all the way down to the sacrum, but for me, it doesn't always match the curve of my low back very well. So if instead I start the bottom of the bolster up where my ribs are, then I've got all that bone structure to support my position on the bolster, and my low back and sacrum can just take whatever curve works best. Now you can put your feet together in a little butterfly shape like this, or you can stretch yourself out with the legs out, letting the arms drop open. So this is gentle yoga. We're getting ourselves set up in a position to be kind of relaxed and open. We'll tune into the breath. We'll spend a couple minutes here just breathing and pausing and getting present. Maybe like you've been awake for a few hours already, you've gotten things done, you've done some chores or some other things. Maybe you just kind of woken up. Either way, just pausing and taking a moment to be present for the day. You can do this with your eyes completely closed, or you can have your eyes open just a wee bit so a little bit of light comes in. If it feels like you're going to get sleepy, that little slit of eye opening is helpful. And try to take nice deep breaths. See if you can get the ribs to move, the navel to move with the breath. Feeling that moment where the breath kind of pauses at the top and at the bottom. So my inhale drops in and there's usually just a pause before the exhale comes out. And then there's a little pause before the inhale drops back in. You don't have to overly extend those little pauses. It just feels nice to notice them. Stay for about 30 more seconds here. Just letting the chest open, maybe even if there's room, extending your arms out a little wider. Take a big breath. I'm going to stretch my arms up over my head. I'm going to bring my knees in a little bit so I can roll to the side and then slide out the prop that you have under you. And come on back onto your back. So, I'm going to just move this so it's not in the way. I love the sensation of coming back onto the back. It feels like my back is kind of spread out. I can definitely feel a kind of release around my shoulders. And so that feels really pleasant to me. I'm going to do these little windshield wipers with my legs. And if it feels good to you, you can also bring the knees in tight and give yourself a little bit of a hug. And sort of rock on the sacrum a little bit, and up on the rim of the pelvis, and onto the sacrum. Oh. If you're on a harder surface, that may not feel as good. For me, there's a mat and a carpet and padding underneath that. It's pretty soft. Feels pretty nice. All right, so we are going to do a little bit of work with the hip here. So to start, we're going to come into this shape that's sort of a figure 4 shape. So one foot is resting on the ground, one leg, the ankle or the middle of the shin, is resting across the thigh. And so we're going to move this leg almost like a butterfly wing. So we're going to bring the knee in so that the ankle stays on the thigh, but the knee sort of comes towards the center of the body, and then we're going to push it back out. Okay, so it's just a movement of in the hip socket here, coming in and going out. And I like this movement for myself, for my own practice, because it sort of tunes me into the sensations right inside my hip socket, and I can see if I've got some tenderness there. I have a tendency to sleep on one side, and the way that my leg drapes over when I sleep, sometimes one hip is a little tighter in the morning. So just kind of noticing the things that are happening for you. And then we're going to take this same leg and just bring it in, hold onto the foot, hold onto the thigh. Now this other leg you could extend out at this point or leave it bent with your foot resting on the floor. So we're going to rock this leg back and forth. And this movement, when you're sitting up, is called rock the baby. I don't know if anybody would rock a baby this way, but same idea. So again, we're just moving in the hip socket just a little differently this time. So now the femur's staying mostly static, and we're moving within our range of motion of this hip, rather than that rotational movement we were doing before. Now, we're going to take hold of the foot with the same hand. So right foot, right hand, and then I'm going to pull my thigh all the way to the ground. So it's like a happy baby or like a lunge upside down. That lifts this other side, my left side, off the floor, and I'm going to extend that side out. So I'm stretching through the hip flexors, stretching through the side waist. You can swing it more towards the leg that's resting on the floor. And then as you swing it away from there, you kind of bring it back home. This whole thing's going to fall back down, right? So the thigh will come up off the ground. And so at that point, we're going to do a little bit more of this rock the baby. We'll do this 3 times total. So I'm going to grab that foot, pull my thigh to the ground, and then use the space I've now just created to create length in my hip flexors and quads, and side waist, and shoulder, and whatever else you can get. That's all bonus. And then as I swing that leg back around, I'm going to fall back in toward the floor, and that's my cue to do this little rock the baby one more time. Oh. Okay, so then one more time, I'm going to pull this guy down. I'm lunging on the ceiling, and stretching into that space. Oh, hold on. Okay, so as I stretch the leg back and around and I come back to neutral, I'm going to go ahead and release that leg and then hold on to just the thigh and then spin the foot in circles. Now, if you want to hold on with a strap instead of hugging it in towards you, you can definitely do that. Sometimes there's just body mechanics that make it better not to hug the leg. Go the other direction. Oh. And so I'm just making circles with my ankle. Oh, I love ankle circles. They just feel so nice. Our poor little feet take such a beating. All kinds of ridiculousness. Now, point and flex your foot a few more times. Just spreading out the toes, seeing how close to your shin you can bring the top of your foot. Oh. All right. Now, you can either take hold of that big toe and extend the leg all the way out. You can hold on to the back of the thigh, or if you happen to have a yoga strap, a dog leash, a belt, something like that handy, you can use that instead. Now, my favorite way to use my yoga strap is to put the strap through the buckle so that I have a loop. And for people with some arthritis in the fingers where it makes it harder to hold on to the strap. It just gets tedious in the finger joints. By putting a loop here, you have a couple of options. You can put the whole arm through and wrap it, and then you don't have to hold on with the fingers. The wrist will hold on. Or you can, if you've got a long enough strap and you can make your loop nice and small, you can actually take the strap and put it underneath your back. So I've gone on a diagonal over this shoulder where it's just the same as the leg and across my upper back so that my shoulder blade kind of pins the strap to the floor, and that allows me to be a little hands-free, which I like. So you take more strap to take the leg farther away. That's going to minimize the amount of hamstring stretch you're experiencing. You can also bend your knee. And then along here as well, you can rotate the leg more out or rotate the leg more in. You can pull the toes down and push up on your heel or point the toes. And these are all ways to play with and adjust the stretch. I like to do some where my leg is rotated in. I'll do 2 or 3 breaths like that because that gets a different part of my hamstring muscles. There's 3 muscles on the back of the leg, starting at the outside and moving in. There's like slightly more sensitivity for me on the outside hamstring than on the inside ones. So if I shift and do my toes go in the other direction, I don't feel it as much on the outside. So you can experiment with that. We're going to stay for about 45 more seconds here. And you can kind of let your leg hang heavy in the strap if it feels okay, or, you know, leash, whatever you're using. So take a big breath, and then we're going to take this leg out to the side. Now, if you have some little throw pillows or you have a yoga block, you can use that to create a little structure. This inner thigh muscle, this adductor muscle, it has an interesting shape. So the attachment is right here at the knee, and then it goes out almost like a diamond and comes in to attach at the groin. And you can feel the places where it sort of overlaps with the quads a little bit here. So this, for me, is a very sensitive muscle, especially right here at the knee joint. So bending the knee slightly can take away some of that intensity. If your calf muscles are really tight, you might feel that tug right in here as well. This area of the knee is very sensitive. There's a marma point in here and some acupuncture points that are quite intense. There's one that's supposed to help you eliminate your bowels, and probably that wouldn't be a good idea right now. So be really nice to your knee is all I'm saying. We'll stay for about 30 more seconds here. And this hip, if I roll this hip down and kind of draw the sides of my waist in, I'm actually contracting or engaging through the really deep abdominal muscles. And that helps stabilize my hip and also gives me a little bit of that stabilization, core strengthening, which, you know, I can always use more of. So we're going to take a nice big breath. And then as you exhale, you're going to bring that leg back to the center. Now, I'm going to take the strap off my shoulder, and you're going to switch hands if you're holding it in your hand. And we're going to come across the body, however far it makes sense to go. Now, I want my upper back to stay resting on the floor so I can get the full benefit of this pec stretch. But if your shoulder comes up a little bit, as long as it's not painful, you should be all right. You can bend the bottom leg. If you slide the bottom leg up so that their legs are parallel to one another, you can take a block or a pillow, put it in between, and actually rest that top leg on the bottom leg, which can be pleasant. And you can also extend that bottom leg out and really reach out into it and create a different sensation. I'm pretty sure I've said it to you in person, but just as a reminder, there's no wrong way to do a yoga pose unless it hurts. If there's pain, that's not the right way to do the yoga pose. Where stretch sensation is different than pain. Pain is generally referred to as sharper shooting, involves a burning, a numbness, or a tingling. Those sensations we're avoiding. But this sensation of, like I can feel stretch happening, but it's not painful. I'm relaxed and I can breathe easily. That's okay, I think. We'll find out for sure. But those haven't caused me any trouble in the last 40 years, so we're going to keep going with it. Take a nice big breath. We're going to exhale out a big sigh. Now, we're going to slowly come back to the middle. Inhale your way up. And then we're going to slip the strap off the foot and take a few moments just to kind of jiggle that leg out. So I like to shake it. You might want to shake it a little bit like more on the ground, and that's fine too. And then allow your body to pause for a moment and just feel. So this is my favorite part of the whole yoga practice because there's two things that happen. One is I get a chance to check in and see, do I feel tenderness in my hip, in my knee, in my back, any places where there are joints? Do I feel anything that feels like I did abusive work? And I want to know those things because they help me get better at practicing, right? So if I'm injuring myself, that is eventually I'm going to pay for that, right? Because usually it's like death by 1,000 cuts kind of injuries with yoga. It doesn't happen all at once, like when you pick up a big heavy piece of furniture and you hurt your back. It's just like slowly over time, we just degrade the quality of the tissue. And so I really want to notice, like, do I feel anything that feels like a red flag or a tenderness or a pain? And then I want to try to change my practice to honor that. And then there's also usually what happens, which is, oh, it just feels fantastic. That leg feels longer, this whole side feels more relaxed. So with that in mind, I'm going to do the other side and I'm hoping you'll join me. So we're going to take one leg across the other. And again, it can be more towards the middle of your shin or more towards your ankle, wherever it feels stable. And then we're going to butterfly wing this leg. So the knee comes over and then out. This is an internal movement and an external movement. So we're moving the hip joint, right? The femur is moving in the hip socket. And if you want to get all fancy, it's the acetabular femoral joint. I know, it's very exciting. I love science jargon. All right, I don't always understand it all, but I like it. So we're going to do two more like that, just moving back and forth, noticing the quality of the hip, kind of what's happening for me today. And then we're going to pick that whole leg up, and again, this is that rock the baby movement, so I can stretch this other leg out if I want, or leave it bent. So then, after I've rocked this baby for a while, I'm going to reach in here, grab the foot, same hand, same leg, bring that knee all the way to the ground, thigh all the way to the ground, and then use the space I've just created to stretch myself out. And then let it come all the way back and rock your baby again. We're going to do it 3 times. That's 1. This is 2. So all the way to the ground with the thigh as best you can. Reach toward the side you're going in. And then I just slowly open it back out to the other side. And it'll just bring me around. And when it does, switch back to this rock the baby. Okay, last round. So I'm going to reach in here, grab this foot, take this thigh all the way to the ground, extend out. As big as I can extend, and then slowly, not yet, slowly, almost, coming back to center. And then you can let go of your leg and grab hold of just the thigh part and spin your foot in circles. And go the other direction if you haven't already. I like to do some that are kind of as big as I can go and some that are a little faster. And then point and flex your foot when you're ready to do that. Spreading out the toes. Just checking in. Is there any tenderness around the ankle joint or in the shin? Just noticing the body. And then you can either grab that big toe or employ your yoga prop, whether officially a yoga prop or as needs meet a yoga prop. Now it's a yoga prop and later it'll be a dog leash, whatever it is. So I'm going to let this side stretch out and relax. I'm going to find the amount of hamstring stretch that's feeling appropriate today. And for whatever reason, I'm feeling a little more sensitive on this side today. So I'm going to back myself off from where I normally land. One of the things, again, that's important to me about yoga practice in general is that it's an opportunity every day for me to meet myself again, right? Meet my body again. So today, things are more sensitive, so I changed the way I practice. Tomorrow, it'll be whatever it is. And instead of having assumptions about how things should be, I can just meet my body wherever it is, which is a more fun way, I think, to join up with or meet my aging body. We have a lot of kind of societal ideas about what beauty looks like or what bodies are supposed to be like, and letting go of some of that and really just meeting my body on a field of sensation and as it is to have a body is pretty interesting, and I like it as a practice. Try to counter some of those messages. So we're going to stay for about 2 more big breaths here. Now, I might be close to my furniture, so with the exhale, we're going to drop the leg open. Oh, good, I got plenty of space. And then again, if you take a yoga block and put it underneath your thigh, or you have a pillow under your thigh, that might give you a little bit more support. I like having something for the thigh bone to rest on. It gives me a chance to really sort of work with this tender inner knee area where my adductor connects. And then the full belly of that muscle is really interesting as well. Oh. It's such a sensitive place. And the thing that's really interesting to me about that is that it hasn't always felt sensitive. Like when I was younger, I used to do all kinds of wide angle, like plant myself on the floor kinds of moves. But as a grown-up, I definitely have more sensitivity. So we'll stay for about 30 more seconds or so here, a little bit longer than that. Again, making adjustments along the way. Poses don't have to be held perfectly still. In fact, sometimes they're more beneficial for us if there's a little bit of an exploration. Take one more big breath here. Okay, so then we're going to come all the way across and make this into the twist. Try to get the upper body to rest comfortably. Again, I can create more stability with some structured support from a prop, or I can create a little bit more of a change up to the way I'm doing things by lengthening out through that bottom leg. It's not better or worse, it's just different. Nice big breaths. 3 more deep breaths here. Taking a big inhale. And then with your exhale, you can come on back or you can inhale your way back. And then release the strap. Oh, bend your knee. Give yourself a moment to move. So you can do the little shake, 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 shake in the air. Or you can shake, 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 shake it down low. Oh, some little windshield wipers always feel nice to me, especially at the end of the second leg. Okay, so then one more time, we're just going to stretch out and see what we did. And I love that sensation of kind of everything having been sort of tractioned and pulled. Oh, it's just a nice way to start a day. Okay, so I'm going to roll to my side and take a moment. If you want another happy baby, you can do that first. And then we're going to come to a seated position. We're going to do some stuff for the spine. And then we'll do some stuff for the shoulders. I'll do a shoulder stretch on the belly. So to start with, just kind of find a seated position that's relatively comfortable. What we're going to do is spin the ribs around in a circle. So we're going to go back, come to the side, bring them forward, take them out. And trying to, you're going to rock around on the bowl of the pelvis, but trying to move from the ribs as opposed to leaning the pelvis back, right? So my pelvis is moving a little bit with me, but I'm trying not to move at this joint. I want to move up here. So see if I can create more movement in my rib cage than I'm doing in my hip sockets. Okay, so switch the direction. See if you can create more movement in your rib cage than in the hip sockets. Oh. Okay, one more circle going that way. Now, keeping the rib cage as my primary idea, I'm going to do this little washing machine move. Oh, just moving back and forth like an agitator. Maybe you agitate other things. So we're going to take a moment and pause on a side. Doesn't matter which way you twisted, just kind of pausing. Plant your sit bones, get a little taller. Allow the upper back to see if it wants to come around a little bit more. Try not to overly crank your lower back. That just mostly will wind up moving the pelvis. It's fine if the pelvis comes with us into the twist. There's nothing wrong with that. But if I'm leaning off my sit bone in order to try to create the twist, then I'm not really doing this where I want it, which is really in that upper back. So what I'm trying to do with my twist today is actually release tension from the upper back. And if you're working from home, a lot of times, I don't know if this happens to you when you work from home, but for whatever reason, when I work from home, I do not give myself breaks very often. I will, like yesterday, I was doing a lot of work to get myself kind of ready for my upcoming teacher training weekend. And so I spent a lot of time, hours on end, kind of hunched over my laptop, trying to get some work done and make plans and schedule things. And so, because of that, I tend to, when I had an office job, things would come up that would distract me and make me do other things. I would work with other people and stuff like that. And so I would have these little breaks from my desk work. Whereas when I'm home, there are no breaks from the desk work. It's just what I'm doing to myself. Okay, so we're going to do this washing machine motion again. Just to start to feel that kind of looseness, and then allow yourself to twist the opposite direction. And you can put a different leg in front if you want to create an opportunity to do that too. I like to switch it up sometimes. Okay, so then I'm planting myself, I'm getting taller, I'm seeing if just that upper back wants to come around, creating a little bit of space around the muscles in the upper back. Oh. So this is kind of just the start of the shoulder work. And take one more breath. And then we'll, come on out of that upper back. Do a little bit of movement. Okay. So we're going to try either a cow face pose or what's called double pigeon. So cow face pose, the knees go stacked one on top of the other. And for me, the only way to do that is to sit up really on a block because my hips don't make that shape as easily. This is what's called double pigeon, where it's just a little bit more of a square. If your ankle joint pushes into your thigh the way mine does, you can use a block up front to kind of create that little bit of space. So I'm making a square with my thighs or a triangle if the knees are on top. Then we're going to take the arms. Now whatever leg's on top, I'm going to put that arm on the bottom. And then you can see if you can clasp a hand and then see if it'll let you fold forward. So I like this stretch in the upper back. It's a little bit tight sometimes. And so for whatever reason it doesn't feel nice to hold on to the hand, you could just hold on to that upper arm and you might get a similar sensation. Now this can be quite spicy in the hip, so if it's too spicy, you can unwind it and do more of a cross-legged position. Now some people will be able to rest their elbows right down on the floor, and if that feels good to you, you can do that. And taking a nice big breath. We're going to come all the way up. Keep that inhale coming in, let go with the arms, and then rinse them out. What's up, Sappy? Now lean back, undo the legs, give them a little rinse out. And then we'll do the other side. So you put the opposite leg up on top. Again, using either the shoelace, or rather the cow face, or the double pigeon. I'm sliding into yin words. So whatever leg's on top, that arm's going to go on the bottom. I'm going to see if I can wrap at the elbow. And then maybe allowing yourself to fold forward some amount. I'm bringing my pelvis forward and then letting everything else kind of softly hang here so that my arms are sort of tractioning out the upper back part and my shoulder. I feel it all along my deltoid area. There's all kinds of critters running around here today. Just breathing. Two more. So you're going to let go, open your arms up, inhale your way up, undo the legs, and then give everything a little bit of a rinse. All right, so we're going to come up to all fours after you're finished shaking things out. Oh, that felt nice. Kind of traction around my neck. I'm going to put one block on either side of my mat just so that I have a couple of blocks handy if I want to use them. So we're going to come into this all fours position, and then you can adjust the hands if you like. So one of the reasons for blocks might be to create a little less pressure on your wrists. For me, the carpeted floor is actually harder on my wrists than a solid wood floor because the carpeting tends to be a little smashier, and so I get a little more pressure. So I can either just move my hands further forward, which that usually works, or you could use your blocks if you've got handy blocks. Oh, and incidentally, if you don't have yoga blocks, you don't have to go crazy and go buy any. You can use a couple of saucepans, like flip them upside down, and they make great blocks. You know, 12-pack or a 6-pack of Coke, or bottled water, or whatever you got around your house, can make a yoga prop. You can also use like Tupperware containers, just put the lid on it or flip it upside down. As long as it's a sturdy one, it'll work. Oh, do people still have Tupperware? 2 more. Oh, these little cat shapes. Oh, they're so nice. Okay, so now that we've got that done, we're going to come down onto the belly. And this is a shoulder stretch. And it could be a little bit of a hip opener as well. So here's what we're going to do. So you're going to stick an arm out to the side. Now, I prefer my arm to be a little bit lower than my shoulder. Some people may find that if the arm is above the shoulder line, that's going to be better. So a little lower than the shoulder is better for me. And usually I like my palm facing up. Some people may want the palm facing down. Here, I'll scooch this way so you can see me better. So arm is out to the side. Then I'm going to take this opposite leg and I'm going to flip it up over, okay? So this is where the blocks come in handy because I like to use one for a headrest. So you're going to extend that arm out, and then if this leg will rest on the floor, great. And if it doesn't, you can extend it out. You can also put a bolster or prop underneath your leg. And we're just going to hang out with this stretch. Now, I'm looking for this to be in the front of my shoulder, the top of the shoulder, a little bit in the chest, but if I feel it in my elbow, then it might be better to either flip the hands the other way or try bending at the elbow so that it kind of shifts into the front of the chest and the shoulder, which is really where I want the stretch. We're going to stay for about another 45 seconds or so. About 5 or 6 deep breaths. If it's too spicy, you don't have to hold it that long. Come on out of there. Some people will find throwing this arm over the back is also nice, so you can do that with your top arm. I usually just let mine rest in front. So 2 more big breaths. And then we're going to bring this leg back over and bring the whole pose out. And then pause there and rinse out your arm. Oh. Now, I'm a fan. I like the way that feels. So hopefully it worked for you. If it didn't, the good news is we only have 1 more arm to go. So you're going to stick the arm out, and again, try it lower. Like, you can definitely try it way closer to the body. For me, a little bit out is helpful to start because I'm going to move it when I get over here. So flip your leg over. Make adjustments to how the arm is positioned until it feels like that stretches right there in the front pocket of your shoulder, top of the shoulder. Oh. And then allow yourself to sit here. This is a great stretch too for people who've been sewing a lot. So if you've been making masks or just sewing in general, this is a great stretch for people who sew. Anywhere where you kind of have had your hands up in front, it feels really nice to adjust in the back. And again, you can bend the elbow, make adjustments along the way. Just staying with the shoulder stretch for a bit. Oh. And again, this arm could go up and over your back. I like to use it as a tripod, kind of, so it helps me hold the shape. We're going to take 2 more breaths. Nice big inhale. And then we're going to come out of there with the exhale. Oh, and then allow yourself that little bit of movement in the shoulder. And then we'll pause. So, you can come back to a seated position if you like, and do some little shoulder circles. That's my favorite thing to do. Or you can lay on your back again, or stay on your belly and hold a sphinx if that's feeling nice. Oh. Okay, so check in with the arms and the shoulders. We're going to do one more stretch, and I'm going to kind of turn sideways so you can see this one. And this is where your strap might come in handy again. So we're going to put an arm behind the back like that, and then some people can reach around and grab hold with this other arm. So I'm going to extend my legs out in a V, and I'm going to do this shape, and I'm going to use the strap to hold myself. So I'm going to get my hair out of the way, put the strap over, and put my hand through the loop in my strap. Then I'm going to use this hand to reach as far down the strap as I can, and I can gently pull that arm up. I don't want to get into trouble and create problems for myself. I just want to create a situation where I can let this arm relax, but also draw the shoulder blade in. And then I'm going to fold forward just a little bit, just to create some movement or gravity trying to pull me the other way. So I'm working my shoulder blade onto my back, hugging my elbows into the midline, and then tilting forward just enough to work with or against gravity. I like to think of it as working with gravity. Now, if there's any pain in your elbow, you might want to loosen up the shape, create a little slightly different angles. This is an intense stretch for me, but it's a really good one. So we're going to take 2 more breaths. And now releasing. Now the arm that I just had behind my back, that guy is going up and over me, my ear. So I'm going to turn my arm like this. I'm going to side bend over this leg, and then I'm bringing this arm. And so I'm rotating the pinky finger in and stretching out through that side. And you can gently manipulate the positioning of your spine to get more in one side of the muscle or more in another side. So if I go this way, I feel it more in my abs. If I go this way, I feel it more in my lat. So just finding the muscle in your body. Oh, take a nice big breath. It feels like it needs the stretch anyway. Okay, so then we're going to come back up and rinse out that arm. And hopefully you can feel a difference. So for me, this whole thing feels different. It feels like I've tractioned my arm out. This shoulder feels higher and closer. It's not probably really that much higher or closer. It just feels that way. So I'm going to turn and face you, and we'll do the second side. So let me get my hair out of my way. So we're going to take the arm behind the back. Okay. And then I'm going to take my strap over and put my hand in the loop, just so that I've got that opportunity to sort of connect my 2 hands together. So there's a little bit of a structure there. I can push the hand into the loop or into the strap, draw the elbows towards the midline, shoulder blade on the back, and then I'm just going to tilt enough that I notice that the shoulder wants to go this way, and I'm going to try to hold it back that way, okay? And however your hands work out, if you can hold hands, hold hands. So it will all work. So 2 more big breaths here. And we're going to inhale our way up, release the arm. This arm I'm going to take out, give it a little shimmy, And again, I'm gonna take this guy and I'm gonna side bend. I'm scooping this arm up and around so that my pinky finger curls in towards my inner body, inside body, front body, so that I can really reach through that area I was just moving in the opposite direction. And again, rotating the ribs a little bit feels nice. Take a nice big breath. Oh, give yourself a little rinse. And then see how that went for you. So I would swear to you that my arms have grown at least a couple inches. My neck feels a little longer. This whole thing feels a little bit more relaxed. Hopefully it's a similar sort of situation for you. And you feel like we've kind of opened up the shoulders a little bit. We've moved the spine around a little bit, and we've done some work for our hips. Now, we're gonna do a forward bend. And you have different options for your forward bend. And forward bending is a tricky, well, back bending is tricky, all bending is tricky. But forward bending, if your pelvis tends to lean backwards, then it's really hard to forward bend. So the way to do a little bit of a modification is to sit up on something. So whether it's a bolster or a block or a pillow, but the secret is when you sit on it, you want to sit so that the edge of your sit bone is right on the edge of the blanket or on the edge of the prop. So rather than sitting on the blanket like this, where your hips are way back on the blanket, you actually want to sit on it so that it's just catching the edge of your sit bones, because that will help tilt your pelvis forward, so that you can move in a forward movement with the pelvis and it puts less pressure on the spine. Now that being said, you may want to do a different shape with your legs. So you can keep the V shape that we were just doing, like that. And it doesn't have to be extreme, it can be kind of in the middle. You can bring the legs really close together, or you can bring the feet together. And I'm gonna do this one because I didn't do it at the beginning. And it feels kind of nice. So I'm scooching right to the edge. So just my sit bones are hanging onto that blanket. And then letting the pelvis move me forward first. And then following that with everything else. Now I can keep my back mostly neutral, or I can let my back really round over. So depending on how that is going for me today, I may want to make different choices. Now, if I had my legs out straight, I could put the strap around my feet and use it to kind of hold on to my legs or my feet. And so feeling the relationship of the spine to the pelvis, of the pelvis to the thighs. Two more big breaths. One of the things I like about forward bending is they make me feel calmer and a little more centered. This may not be true for you, so you have to decide on your own whether that's true. With all things yoga, and the Yoga Sutras invites us to this, but with everything about yoga, the idea is, here's some ideas, try it yourself, make up your own mind, right? It's not a dogma. It's not trying to teach you a particular way of being. In all cases, even the parts of the Yoga Sutras, take a big breath and let yourself rise up, lean back, and undo the legs. And then we're going to take a moment just to rinse that all out. So with all things yoga, what we're trying to do is just be a better person. Just be a better soul. Whether that leads to enlightenment or it doesn't, I don't know. But that's a worthy goal into itself. And so all of the practices, including the ethical practices, are not necessarily do's and don'ts. but instead they are, you will find that when you behave in this way, when you are an ethical person, when you do things to better yourself, when you take on these practices and check things out, you will find that you naturally gravitate towards that kind of behavior. When you are checking in with yourself and monitoring the way that you feel, you are going to find that when you are kind, when you are not doing, you know, things that are unethical, that you feel better about yourself. You are able to sleep better at night. That sort of idea. It's really that simple. It's that we are trying to create a situation where we are naturally becoming a better human. So we're going to do some Shavasana prep and then Shavasana. Now, I have a little bottle of essential oils. This is just lavender oil and some carrier oil. And if you are inclined to essential oils, sometimes they can be really useful in like Shavasana because they help us relax. And especially if you're finding that you have difficulty relaxing, you just put a little bit on your pulse points. Or you can, if you don't want to put it on your body, you can just take a nice deep breath of it. And sometimes that aromatherapy is really helpful for helping us relax. Now I'm going to take this bolster and it's going to go underneath my legs. And I'm going to take a blanket. If I were chilly, I might want to cover up with the blanket. I am not chilly, but I like to have the blanket for a pillow. So I'm going to make a little pillow for my head. So this is my prep. And then for Shavasana, before I get all the way in here, I am going to give myself a moment to sort of do a little check-in. So I'm going to move from side to side, do a little hug, do that little massage over the sacrum, and then stretch one leg out and kind of give it a little shimmy, then let it relax, and then stretch the other leg out, give it a little shimmy, let it relax. If you don't have enough room where you are, you can extend the legs differently, or put your legs in a slightly different angle. And then adjust around the head. So I'm going to snuggle my shoulder blades in, kind of find the right position for the arms. And then you can adjust the props. So this is all just a little getting ready. So if you have an eye pillow and you want to put that over your eyes, you could put an eye pillow on. The light's a little diffused today because there's a little bit of cloudiness, but if at your house it's brighter, the eye pillow is useful. Then take a nice deep breath and let your body relax with a sigh. And you do this a couple more times. Nice big breath. And relax with a sigh. The sighing helps the parasympathetic nervous system, that relaxation part of our nervous system, actually kick on, if we haven't already, with the yoga practice. And then stop with that technique and just allow yourself to settle. So feel the places where your body is touching the floor. So it could be just your ankles or heels. Could be that you feel the thighs touching the ground or the calf muscles. And just feel the weight of your legs get heavy and soft. And then notice the back of the pelvis. And allow the pelvis to relax, your hips to relax. Feel how the part of your back lifts up away from the floor, and then part of your back settles nicely. And feel yourself relax the back into the ground. Feel the shoulder blades grow a little heavier. And feel the arm bones all the way down to the backs of the hands completely sink into the ground. So the whole body is soft and relaxed. Feel how the back of your head gently rests on the floor. If necessary, you could make a small adjustment so that you can relax the skull. Feel the muscles of your scalp relax. Relax around your eyes. And if you can feel it, allow the brain and also the two eyes themselves, the orbit of the eye, allow those to relax back into the skull. So it feels like your brain drops away from that intensity of the front of the skull, the forehead, and the eyes themselves get heavy in the sockets. Relax the cheeks and the lips. Feel the mouth and the jaw all relaxed. Lips soft and fluffy. And now notice how the body is breathing. Not just the lungs, but the whole body is gently lifted and released with the breath. You scared me, kid. Allowing yourself to rest quietly. There might be little furry creatures or small people who are vying for your attention. It's possible that you've been able to lay here very quietly. It's just some sounds from nature occasionally punctuating your experience. But take a moment, whatever you're up to, and just come back home for a second and feel your body again, feel the breath. I'm going to start to just wiggle the fingers and toes. And then stretch the fingers and toes away from one another as big as you can go and curl them in, give them a little squeeze. Stretch them out away from each other as big as they'll go. Curl them in, give them a little squeeze. Stretch them out away from each other as big as they can go one more time. And then let yourself now come to a wrist and ankle movement, maybe one at a time or both. Just swirling those joints a bit. And then stretch the arms and legs away from each other. Give yourself a little banana to each side. Oh, because and bring the knees in and give yourself a little back massage, a little hug. Now, I like to roll to my side and hang out for a bit. So that is my preferred way to get up, but you could rock yourself up if that's your preferred way to get up. When you're ready, you'll come up. Now this, for me, is often the best time to do meditation practice because I've stretched out, I've relaxed, my mind is really present, and so it feels like the right time. So if you are inclined to meditation, you could take a few more minutes here, but for the time being, I will send you on your way to do your own world. So thank you so much for joining me, yogis. Namaste, and I hope to see you again.